I could talk to 100 people, and 100 people are going to have 100 definitions about what character is. And
as a leader, you have to check yourself.
Like electricity hit me.
And we have a good understanding of Iwa, then our energy as a people will change.
This tradition has saved my life in so many ways.
I actually tried to quit Ifa.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so nice. This is work, y'all. It's work.
Behind closed doors, what is your character?
You need to get a backbone.
How you say it and when you say it.
Before I post and say anything, I was like, am I doing this out of ego?
Maybe this is so heavy that I just need to turn it over to the Orisha.
Because you can't carry everybody. You can't take on things that don't belong to you.
And so what she's going to do now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
First, take a breath. Welcome
to another episode of Voices of Iwa. My name is Iwa Pele, and I am the host of Voices of Iwa. Voices of Iwa is a podcast where we uplift and amplify the voices of women who are living the African traditions here in the diaspora. This is season 2, and so our focus on season 2 is embodying the Orisha. And we are talking about how we move from a place of practicing and understanding to full embodiment and living our African traditions. So today is one of my favorite things to talk about. This subject today makes me giddy inside, and I truly feel like when we have a good understanding of Iwa, then our entire life as a people, our collective, we've been talking about a collective ashe here and there, our energy as a people will change. And so across from me today in the studio, we have 2 beautiful Iyas. I'm not going to try to introduce them. I'm going to let them pick up themselves and introduce themselves to the Voices of Iwa audience. And if y'all could also tell us a little bit about how you got into the traditions, we would love to hear that story.
Ekuleo. First, in gratitude, thank you for having me. I am Yeye Ifafumi Lola Omitoke Oyato Misin Egbe Fumi Faluade. I am a priestess of Ifa and Orisha. I am a Pete B, and amongst a trillion other things, I'm also a master comedic yoga instructor. I got into the tradition by way of my mother, specifically into Ifa. But growing up, I was always in African culture. I never was a part of anything outside of that. So I grew up, my birth name is Iyabo Kia Ranika Atan Hotep Lawrence. So it was always there. But I've been initiated to Ifa for 7 years now, almost 7 years. 7 years in August. And this tradition has saved my life in so many ways. But it brought me, I knew that I was destined to find my root, and I found it in Ifa. So my mother initiated many, many moons ago, and I was pregnant with my last son, and I was invited to the EJ, the 7th day. And with my big old belly, I'm sitting in this chair and I'm like, what is happening? Why am I crying? Why is all this stuff happening to me? And 24 years later, here I am. But it was truly, truly in divine order. My mother has been a very huge pillar in my life, specifically in my spiritual life. And being in the tradition has helped me to know how to navigate my way through. So I learned a lot, and I'm appreciative for what she has helped to bring me to. But this has been a journey. I've been around the community. I've been in Atlanta for 30 years. I'm from Chicago originally.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I know. And so being in Chicago, we grew up doing African dance and the whole community. My mother is both of my parents. Yasser Rahotep is my father, and between the two of them, I was rooted in culture and tradition. So fast forward to the last 7 years, I I had a friend, and that friend was he had done his Ishefa, and I was like, where you do that at? Because I was already dealing with another Ile, but it was shocking for him, that for me to know that he specifically was doing Ishefa. So he introduced me to his Babalao, and from there we catapulted into where I am today. Nice. And he also introduced me to my husband, and it brought me to truly being rooted in Ifa, Orisha culture and tradition. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be in the lifestyle, in the culture. I'm happy to share knowledge and wisdom with people all over the world. And this is my life. I wouldn't change it for anything or for anybody. So that's I'm happy.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I am Ianifa Fatumishe Oshuntola Abeke Fayemisi Omitogun Olayinka Egbewumi Olori Eji. Ashel. And knowing what our names mean, I'm honored to be named by the Orisha. I've always been a spiritual person. From a child, went to church with my grandmother, and always wanted to catch the Holy Ghost, but never could. And when I had dreams, they would come true. And so, like, from a very young age, my mother had, my aunts and my family calling me, like, to tell them what their dreams meant before I actually knew what I was doing, I guess. As far as Ifa, I started studying in the the Kemetic spiritual system, and I just kept digging. I never, felt like I was full or like there was an actual fulfillment, even though, I learned a lot about myself and, the, white supremacy and all of that. So I kept digging. I found Santeria in the Orishas, and I was very hardly interested because I was like, okay, where does, how do my ancestors come into this? The Kemetic spiritual system gave me a really grounded me and rooted me in African ancestral veneration. Went to pay homage to one of my brother's family members who had passed away, and we hugged, and I literally got like shocked, like an electrical shock, like electricity hit me. And so it was weird. A couple weeks I came home later, I had a dream, and it was obviously spiritual, to the point where my soul would not let me rest until I called this person and told them about this dream. So basically what I found out is that they were, studying Ifa. They were branching out of the community work to study Ifa. And at the time we had, my community group had been told, like, you all need to get readings, because it's more to, what we're doing, and like the spiritual aspect needs to be there. So I was like, yes, readings, like, okay. So he, led me to my Oluo, and I got my very first reading, and it resonated. I like read my life from, it was like, this person, my Oluo, had to be in my house growing up with us. It was like, there's no way that he knew that. When I say intricate details, descriptions of my siblings, Ifa gave, which side of my grandparents, helped rear me, just all kinds of things. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like, you need to get to Africa and be initiated. Like, this is what the women in your family did. This is what, the men did, like everything. And so it took me some time to process. And, I just knew that from then, Egbe, Oshun, Obatala, Ifa, Egungun. So just staying on the course, and I ran. I'm not gonna say staying on the course because at first it was like real interesting, and then you start seeing your life transform from these readings, according to these readings, and everything that Ifa is saying. From my mate to who my children are to everything, and it was just like no way. So I actually like tried to quit E5. It was like you're an Ianifa. This is your destiny. This is your purpose. This is why you're here. And I was like, I'm supposed to be a teacher and a mom, like a teacher, right? So I'm thinking like a school teacher. And so just what made me know that this was real after running was that I tried to quit E5 for an entire year. And when I say I didn't have any peace, there was no peace in my life. There was chaos from to the left, the right, the north, south, in front of me, behind me, like everything. And like every day and every night, it was like, well, this isn't going away until you acknowledge where you're supposed to be going. And that's literally how it was for a year. So finally I was like, okay, like y'all gonna have to show me because and so I really had to go to my elders. They were like, just put this part of things down, and character, how you handle these things moving forward is what's going to, that's actually really divine that I'm remembering this right now. Like the way that you handle these things, just be calm and this and this, and you'll come through it. And that's exactly, so that's how I ended up in the Ifa tradition. Yes.
Right. Yes. So all three of us we have plenty in common as people who live the traditions. But one of the things that we all have in common is that we help to lead Ilays. And I think I want us to put on our Olori hat as we have this conversation around character, and kind of what we experience, right? What our experience has been, one, with our own character, right? In how that has grown as we help lead other people in the tradition, but also like what we see as the important elements of building and developing our character, of not just ourselves, but other individuals and collectively. So let's just jump into that. Like, what's your, how do you all define character? Because I could talk to 100 people, and 100 people are going to have 100 definitions about what character is. And it's such an important pillar of our traditions that it's like, it's almost crazy that it's hard to find like a very clear definition for our tradition. So how do you all define character?
You want to go first? Flip a coin. I think, that it is that way because we are energies and people are different. And just like the Orisha, what may be required of, a required character or character traits for me to best navigate this life may be different from someone else, a child of Oya or a child of Obatala. And I think that's the thing that we miss, is that we are energies. So for me, character is the essence of our souls. It's the essence of who we are in spirit and in energy. And that is what cultivates our lives ultimately, and what determines how things work around us and how we, navigate these journeys, navigate our journeys.
I like that. I like to look up the root word of words, because Kalali and I do this all the time. It's like we might say something. He'd be like, "What that mean?" And I'd be like, "What does it really mean?" And, we like Google the origin of the word. And the origin of character is actually Greek. Mm-hmm. And so it speaks to what you're saying. And it's actually character, just spelled with a K. Mm-hmm. But it's actually like the distinct mark, right? So the distinct mark of something is the character of that. Which, I know I've heard, character defined as attitude, or character can be defined as like your behavior, or your, what you say and how you do it and all those things, which I think it all is. But like what you just brought up, I think is an important part that sometimes is missed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you, Ian?
I think character is what gives divination to human beings. Mm-hmm. Character is what we represent, or how we represent ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we choose, and it changes. Mm. It transforms into different things at different times for different situations. Mm-hmm. Character is not something that stays the same, or it could. Mm-hmm. Someone can be even killed just straight through and through. But for me personally,
speak for us all.
I don't know about that. No, but I think character is the essential element to our daily lives. Mm-hmm. How we perform the things that we do in order to stay who we are, what we're meant to be. And it's not something that you can get away from, because if you're outside, or even if you're inside, but if you're outside, people going to see you, and they're going to look at you with the idea of who you are based mm-hmm. off of your actions, your behaviors, mm-hmm. your intelligence, what you present. Mm-hmm. But then behind closed doors, what is your character? Mm-hmm. And if you represent yourself in the same way behind closed doors that you do in person, people have even yourself have a more generalized idea about who that person is. Mm-hmm. But character is something that is taught as well as chosen. Mm-hmm. It's something that you get to make adjustments to when you need to, mm-hmm. something that you can really be challenged with in certain environments. And I know in this tradition, because we're a melting pot for different types of people coming from different backgrounds, coming from different lineages, different understandings, character plays a huge part on what people see outside, and not really give a lot of understanding to who that actual person is, mm-hmm. until they get up close and personal. Mm-hmm. So character plays a huge role in everybody's life, mm-hmm. no matter who you are.
Absolutely. So how has leadership, well, let's back up. How has this tradition, and I hope y'all know, subject to whatever I wrote in those questions, I might not ask those questions, right? We're just moving in the spirit. It's possible, right? It's possible discussion. But how has the traditions, how have they helped shape your character?
For me, a lot. Mm-hmm. Growing up and into my early adulthood, I was very quiet. Mm-hmm. I was and I still am. I was very quiet. I was very shy, very in wanting to be in the background, like just very mm-hmm. Calm, cool, collected all the time. But I always drew people. I was always like a light. People always wanted to be around me, and I never really understood that. Mm-hmm. And I was just quiet and shy, and not wanting to, I was a good dancer. I could sing a little bit. I was great with, poetry and stuff. And so there was always like a performance or something for me to do, but I was shy doing it. Growing into adulthood and into motherhood, also still being, you know, like the calm. And so my relationships in once I got into African spirituality and in the tradition, my egungun actually called for me to be like, literally one day, I'm not kidding, I was sitting on the couch and I was, you know, going through some life stuff as an adult, and my egungun was like, you need to get a backbone. And I was like, so just too nice to let people, you know, like just get away with stuff or whatever. And I would be fine. Like, you know, not really no stress, but just like, well, you know, whatever, that's what you want to do. Okay, it'll come back to you. That was me. But when I got into Ifa, my juju team was like, no way. Like, you're going to speak up. When your back is against the wall, you need to fight. You need to let people know, like, this is not okay. And so that was brought out of me, and it created this, it allowed me to speak up. It helped my character become, I feel like it helped me become whole.
Okay.
Right? And so this is before me knowing what Iwa is about. So I took on that role, like, okay, like, you know what, you can't do this. Like, my ancestors said, you know, that I'm allowed to speak up and that I'm allowed to tell you how it is and I'm allowed to, you know, do this and that. And so I had to build that. I had to build that and create that within myself. And so then here comes Oshun, which is like, okay, you know, I'm creating this relationship with Oshun, and I'm like, oh, she's, you know, sweet and she's soft and all this. But then I see like, she didn't go for this and she didn't go for that. So, no, like, yeah, I'm still on a roll. And so once a certain period of time or certain things in my life I had surpassed, then there's Abatala. It's like, okay, this fire, you know what I'm saying? Like this, you know, you getting a little bit out of hand. So I felt like, not necessarily out of hand, but I needed balance. I needed to be, you know, pulled back, because now you're in a different portion and part of your life. Having another set of children 7 years after the first ones that don't require the same type of mothering and that require gentle parenting and, you know, stuff like that. And so it's really shaped who I am in terms of the different, like you said, periods of my life, and depending on what I'm going through, dealing with, and where I am in my journey. A big factor.
Yeah, I think it's the same in so many ways. I'm a Libra.
Period, right? Just like stop.
10, baby. And it's so profound. Like, it's not something that I can get away from because it does play into my character. But I was like, I still am in a way, but I'm not, but I am wild. And I think my mother called me wild. And, I was like, and my husband called me spicy. And I was like, okay. I like both of those because I am, spitting. But, you know, but I think a lot of times I'm misunderstood because it's not easy to be me. To learn what parts of me I can share with other people, what parts of me I have to refine, what parts of me I have to showcase more, pull out the deep truth, say things that are not what other people are used to or even appreciate. But I can say that usually if I have to say certain things, it's because you need to hear it. And it's not ego. To me, it's spirit.
Let me grab your hand.
I mean, because that's what are we? We're spiritual beings first.
Absolutely.
And our oris are connected to other beings. I even think in this setting, like what we're doing right now, right? This is the connection. And so our characters are being put on display for us to be able to relate to. And so for me, I know I've had to really like
I can relate. I'm a Libra too. I'm a Libra as well.
When is your birthday?
Libras unite. Right.
Oh, we right there. Oh, well.
Yeah,
look,
I mean, when
right?
you started speaking that, I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, very relative. Very.
Yeah.
But see, so there's back to your distinct, like you were saying that your mother said that you were wild and your husband called you spicy. But that's your distinct character, right? That's your distinct mark. You're not, it's not a performance,
it's
right?
Not.
This is a part of who you are, right? So the character, the distinct mark, as opposed to so character. We talked about the word Iwa, but then in our tradition, there's something that's normally put after that, right? The thing that we should be seeking after.
Yes.
It's not just Iwa, but it's Iwa Pele, which again, you talk to 10 different priests, and you're going to hear a couple of different answers, right? You're going to hear gentle character, you're going to hear balanced character, and we can have a whole debate on. And let's start a little bit of that, though. I want to talk a little bit about how what is your take on Iwa Pele and the difference between like Iwa, so if we're talking about the character, the distinct mark of things, and then you mentioned something, you said, and then does it need, the question, the curiosity around, does that need to be refined? What do I change? Yes. What is a part of my mark that needs to be here in this world, right? And and in terms of Ifa saying Iwa Pele, right? When is it appropriate to showcase that mark? Or is it always appropriate to showcase that mark if it's truly a part of my character?
Yes.
Questions I need answers to. I don't have the answers to any of that stuff, y'all, but I'm posing a question.
I feel that once, because I heard Iwa Pele forever. Yeah. Forever. And an elder, Ianifa, when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, introduced me to Iwa Rere and Iwa Baruch.
Come on now.
And so
bad and good.
Yes.
Good character and bad character.
And then it's like Iwa, well, what is Iwa Pele? Gentle character. And together, they should all create balance, right? And so when I got the understanding, that there were all three, obviously balance is needed. And one of the things that I find myself doing more as a priestess in my journey now is not necessarily questioning. So it's like we are who we are, right? But like you just said, and we get this as a bad rap as a Libra too, like, being fake and all that. So you gotta, so it's like, I'm gonna be who I am. However, mindful of, I think about my character all the time, a lot now, because no, I don't want to be perceived as someone that I am not. So, I'm
that
going
would be bad
to
character,
right? Because I'm going to do my best to be in good character or to keep this balanced. However, is it good character for me not to say what needs to be said or not to bring this to the forefront or whatever? So I think that when it comes to character, when it comes to Iwa Pele, gentle character, it is being mindful of how we handle situations, whether it is going to create an argument or not, because you may not intend for it to be creating an argument, knowing that it may because of the energy that you're dealing with. However, it's something that needs to be addressed. And even if it is an argument, we can control our character, right? So I feel like Iwa Pele is the way that we control the situations, the way that we allow the outcome to be. So I think that's gentle, because sometimes it may cause for a little fire, other times it may cause for
a little water.
For water, yeah.
And I mean, I think people often forget this about me. I am a fire sign. I'm a Sagittarius. I will blow up some shit, y'all. People don't know that about. Like, people be like, "Oh, you're so sweet. You're so nice." This is work, y'all. It's work. Because on the inside sometimes I be boiling, you know, and have had to really, the Orisha have helped me tremendously to just be like, and it doesn't always work, right? Because I definitely get, you know, I could blow, but I have worked over the years on this aspect of gentle character and having to ask myself, right, whether or not, so such and such needs to be said, right? Like, I understand good character, like you said, it's in my character,
right,
to know that such and such needs to be said, especially as a leader, right? Or even not, right? Like just in daily life, such and such needs to be said. How you say it and when you say it, right?
And to whom you say
and
it
to
to.
who exactly, right? All of the factors surrounding such saying such thing that needs to be said, right? Are you saying it to? Are you saying and even intention? Right? So are you saying it to be mean?
Right.
You know, are you saying it with the intention to have a dialogue about it? Are you thoughtful? Right? Are you coming to the my thing to work on has been like curiosity, right? Let me come to the conversation with curiosity. So I'm not telling you anything. I'm asking some questions. And sometimes people are like, you know, well, why did you say it like that? You know, I'm like, because I'm not curious yet. Like I'm trying to,
right.
I'm trying to get curious because that curiosity has helped me with Iwa Pele. Like if there's anybody that's like, I really am working on my Iwa Pele, especially with people, like coming, that's like a trick. We can come back to that. But coming with curiosity is definitely a way to help. That has helped me to not be judgmental, but to like, where can I find the question, like the things that I'm truly curious about? So let me ask that. Let me focus on that, as opposed to whatever it is I thought happened. Right? Let me ask some questions. Like those are things that have helped me have more gentle character, because it is absolutely positively in my nature to just say what, you know, like this is what I think needs to be said. Let's just have this conversation. Courageous conversation, if you will.
Yeah, one of the things that you just said, because you mentioned, you know, like who you're saying it to, when it's said and all that. One of the things that I have literally practiced, because we all have ego, right? One of the things that I've literally practiced, and it started like some years ago on social media, because I would be the person like, if I see fake stuff, like I'll just be like, I can't take it. Like I know these people in real life, like we know each other in real life. So I would just get up there and be like, wow, but it would be out of ego. It would be in my ego, you know? And so when I started being mindful of character, what it was, learning and all of that, it was like, before I post and say anything, I'll be like, am I doing this out of ego? And a lot of times I would never even make the post because the answer would be yes. And so what I have been practicing the last couple of years is my intent.
Yeah.
Right? So once I've realized like, yeah, this is out of ego, but what's my intent? Is my intent to create some drama? Or is it to really get the message out here that I really want people to understand? And when I say to myself, okay, so this is not really ego, because I really want people to understand this. And when I do that, social media is just an example, but even in the ELA meeting or, you know, a sister circle meeting, when my intent is to really get the message across, or to create peace, or to really give an understanding, it never creates drama. It's always good. It's always something good. So that's a practice.
Yeah, I think intention has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. I usually carry good intentions, but it's not always perceived well.
Right.
And at some point, my character may be questioned. However, and I'm always questioning myself too. I have to. I mean, I'm, as a leader, you have to check yourself, because you don't want other people to check you in a way that is disrespectful or that raises problems in the communities that you're in. However, Egg Bay, they check me all the time.
Yeah, they're checking bunch.
They don't play.
Yeah, Egg Bay will check you for sure.
But I think it's good, because we do need to operate, especially as leaders, with a cool head most of the time. But I think that sometimes there are those times where you have to say the truth.
Yes.
And what that truth is sometimes may cause, confusion or conflict. But like you said, with intent, my intent is never to harm or hurt anyone. However, the things that I say may harm or hurt you because your character may be in question. And I've had many of situations on both ends where I had to go and shed tears because I felt like I put myself in a position to overpower a situation with my words. And I've seen my words do some damage. And that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I've also seen my words do some healing, not just for the outside, but mostly for myself, because my words had to come from that spirit place, and that spirit place had to talk to me to get my character in check. And it's empowering to know when you share information with other people and they receive it well.
Yes.
It feels good.
Yeah.
But then when you share information with people and they don't take it well, it's like, well, what did I do wrong or what did I say wrong? But in truth, it's not always you.
Yes.
It may just be that this person needs to balance their character or they need to check themselves and see how they're showing up. And usually if it's something that I have to say, it's probably because you haven't been doing your work. Yeah. And I don't like conflict. Being a Libra, I can't stand conflict. However, I'm always in the middle of something.
Yes.
It's always something because I'm a mother. So I'll lay you on my bosom and we'll talk. I'll hold you. We'll have conversation. We'll work things out. We'll get it through. I'll let you know, that I want to take care of you so that you can be healthy and happy and successful in whatever it is that you're doing. However, when people have their own agenda and they don't respect the levels to this thing, as they say, it causes a lot of problems that usually need to be put into real place. You have to put people where they need to be if this thing doesn't work itself out through all the lovely nurturing Iwa Pele stuff, right? But I have to still stay on the scale because I'm, being a Libra and not liking conflict, I know it can go from 0 to 5,000 in 1.2 seconds. That's that oh yeah too, right? But I can't do that to everybody in every situation. And most of the time, no situations. Yeah. So my character, again, is always at the forefront because you can't carry everybody. You can't take on things that don't belong to you. And you can't let other people's situations and circumstances and the lessons and things that they need to learn overbear what it is that you're doing. I know that I have to first take a breath. And then I have to make a decision. Am I more valued for this situation or is this situation something that I want to dig into? And usually in every arena that I'm in, I choose to go the other way. So a lot of times you don't see me out in the streets. You don't see me out in public. I'm not very social. I used to be. My mother used to call me Susie Socialite. I was everywhere and everybody's everything. And not because it was just natural for me. Being in a community, growing up in the African dance community, which was like everything, right? And then moving into this specific community, the Ifa community, which I even had difficulties in that. Oh my God. I had so many challenges trying to figure out where I belonged within the Ifa community because it was too many different characters. And I don't mean Iwa Pele or Iwa Rere or Iwa. It was too many characters, actual human characters that were playing roles in the tradition that were considered leaders or elders. And I couldn't handle that space because I didn't know how to fit into that space, because a lot of things that I saw didn't resonate with me in a positive way.
Right.
So I had to really take a step back, and I'm learning more how to not just come out and play a little bit, but to use what I know and how I know, meaning my Iwa, how to present it. Because it's a lesson every single day. Every breath that I take, I'm having to, oh, wait, you can't say that. You can't do that. Oh, well, maybe you can. If I told me twice, speak. And I was like, but you was telling me to be quiet at first. What you want me to say? And then how to say whatever it is that I need to say. What environment do I say these things in? So I'm always questioning. We do divination every 2 weeks, and sometimes every other day, depending on what's going on. And in that, it helps me to really sort out all the things that go on in my life, in my personal life, in my communal life, and in my business life. I have to figure out where I belong and how to do what it is that I need to do. And sometimes thinking it can be overwhelming. So then you do divination and you hear the answers, or you sit with that divination and you like, oh, and then you see how it played out. So then you know how to deliver the gentle character, or the good character, or even sometimes the spicy character. You know how to represent and to present yourself in those situations. So
yeah, it sounds like we're moving into some of the I guess the practical spaces. Like, can you all give some, I think you started to like give some real-time advice in terms of things that you've done to, cultivate your Iwa Pele, or to, like you said, you get divinations, you have to sit with it sometimes. Like what does that development, what does that look like for you, and how has that, like, not just for you, even for some of the students and people that that you work with, because it'd be a struggle for some folks.
As an Ianifa, as a priestess, as a teacher, as a community leader, as someone that has children looking at you, and other, your peers and Ile members, to make the best decision. Like you said, self-reflecting, self-checking all the time. And Egbe is absolutely like, I'd be embarrassed to get like a character check from Obatala, right? But when I get one from Egbe, it hits hard. It's like my parents are really like, all I ever want to do was make them proud. So that's how, when I get it from Egbe. So what I have learned to do is, you know what? This is not healthy. It's not, it cannot be resolved because the person is who they are. And I really know that it's not my character. I've got divination. I have, been at the shrines and all of that. So, Eshu, close the door on this thing, this chaos, this whatever it is, for the best benefit of myself and this individual. And when I do that, it goes away. Like it goes away, and it's perfect. It's nothing. It's no questions. It's no closure needed. It's no why. It's none of any of that. It is what it is, because I asked you to close the door. Another thing is, for instance, character. There, I recently had an experience that I felt was disrespectful towards me, that, I was insulted. I was, like, made to be embarrassed, like, and I was just like, this is something that needs to be addressed, So not only in the heat of the moment, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, integrity, character, spirituality, like everything was like at stake or like on the table. So initially it's just like it's a small correction, just you know, something needs to be said. But I really had to sit back and be like, how do I go about doing this, right? And so I thought about everything and I was like, I would not be wrong to address this way. And so I don't play about my Ori at all, or appeasing Eshu. Every month they get what they want, and sometimes like more than that, because I found that sometimes, you know, my judgment is not the best judgment. And I'm learning as I grow that I want to be in alignment as much as possible, because it's hard a lot of times to get back on track. And so, Ori, I've learned to trust my Ori because I appease my Ori and I feed my Ori and I cleanse my Ori, right? So Ori was like, this is what it is. And it's not ego. It's not you trying to throw shots. It's not this, is not that. And I trust my Ori, right? And so I did what my Ori suggested. And it was like, great, you know, it's over and it felt good. And then Abatala was like, could you have just been quiet? So some of the things that I do to help me with my character is keep up with my shrine work, keep up with my oseis, right? And so I knew Olakun told me like a lot of stuff was coming. I want to share that. And so I knew that a lot of stuff was coming. And my previous Ori feeding, which I had a couple weeks ago, was like, this is coming, right? And so I'm thinking about that, like, this is what my messages were. And so while I didn't do anything wrong, I find that having a connection to the Orisha, especially the ones that we are initiated to, is very, very, very important, because they help us hone our character. They help us mold our character, and they help us grow in the way that we should pull back, or in the way that we should be going when it comes to gentle, you know, in the balance part of it. So while, like I said, I didn't do anything wrong, because like that's when I already chose, Abasala did sit me down and was like, could you have been quiet? And so I was like, yeah, I could have. And so next time, I know like it felt good and everything was resolved, and it was resolved peacefully when I did it this way. But even if I hadn't said anything, because my Orisha got me, like it still would have been resolved the same way. So that helps us take ourselves out of the equation.
That it's funny, because that was going to be my practical advice. Well, similar is just one, in dealing with people. I just learned to just super not take things personally. But then every time, you know, sometimes it gets hard to do this, but every single every time, eventually, like I'll get to the space where I'm like, what is it that I need to learn? Now, right? Especially if this is challenging and agitating. Right? So how am I checking my own character? Right? Like, how am I, like, there's a lesson here for me, let me learn it. And like you said, like how you said, when you go to Eshu, you know, and you ask them to close the door, what I find is like, when I start doing that internal work with me, that should just dissipate. You know, like it'd be like it's not even there anymore. Either that person just leaves, and they just no longer talk, and I'd be like, okay, well, fine, it's resolved,
just like that,
or just like that, or you know, or I'm at peace with it completely, and can either have a different kind of conversation or can do something differently, right? Like my go-to has been to check myself, and I hear us all saying that you know, like there's some internal work, some very deep internal work with character. Right, even to get to that distinct mark of like who you are, right? And again, yes, and now here's the gentle part. Here's the where does that fit in? Do I need to say something? Do I need to be quiet? can this just, let me just let this ride out, or no, let me, like, maybe this is so heavy that I just need to turn it over to the Orisha. I've done that too. Like, just, I don't even want to have a conversation with the person. I'm gonna just give this to you because I can't trust that I can have Iwa Pele in this particular moment. So help me. Right? Like, I'm good for that. I'm good for a crying session, and help me, because I don't have the answers or the words. And what you said about, like, being in leadership, that has been the space of the most challenge for me with character. Like, I think I was good until, like, the whole leadership thing happened. Yeah. Because then you realize that there's so many eyes on you. There's people looking up to you, right? It's almost like something happens and everybody's like, so what she's going to do now? You know what I mean? And then that's, that is complicating even your ability. So people even watching your process, right? Of how this is handled. All of those things play such a huge role. The hour goes by really fast, y'all. So I want to give you all an opportunity. I was saying, in the first season, I don't know if we did the best job of really, like, showcasing the wondrous work, like the wonderful work that all of the IAs were doing in community. So if y'all want to just take a second and just talk about, y'all have festivals coming up and, spaces for, healing and things. I would love y'all to talk about the work you do in the community.
Well, I have a couple things coming up, and I don't do a whole lot, but I try to do enough. And so one of the things that I have coming up, as a comedic yoga teacher, I definitely use my breath work to get me out of situations. And so I extend my services in that. But right now I have a comedic yoga teacher training coming up in July 5th through August 10th here in Atlanta. It's for anyone. I'm also going to incorporate just regular sessions into that teacher training with anybody that's interested, so that they get to not only understand how to work within the system of comedic yoga, the practice of yoga, but to really know their own true selves. And so a lot of times people don't want to train and become teachers, but they want to get the experience. So I'm opening that up to any and everybody. But I also wonder, this is our third annual. I'm so excited for this IJ Festival.
I do.
We realized that there was something that we ain't seen in Atlanta. And again, I've been here for 30 years. And I've been to a lot of festivals, but I have not seen IJ Festival. And so my husband and I were having some conversations, and it was like, well, what else could we bring to the table? And I received my IJ during my Ifa initiation. It was so special to me. And in discussion, it was like, do this IJ Festival. Nice. So IJ came about. We have it in the hood with our brethren, all
Perkins
of our sisters. Perkins Park used to be held for dance, House in the Park.
House in the Park.
And I was like, it's a beautiful park, and it's right here in the neighborhood. So I literally live like 2 minutes from there. But we're having our J Festival June 28th, 2025, 2:00. We're having our Ojaje, the marketplace where all the vendors will come and showcase what they have, all their crafts and stuff. And then we start at 3:00.
Sweet.
Under the small pavilion. We'll have free food. Everything is free except we have the IJ kits. Okay. The IJ kits are so special because they hold the live dove or Eyele Funfun that will be sharing with IJ. We'll release them at the water. Yes. So it's a beautiful, beautiful event. And we look forward to having the entire community. It's not just for Ifa Orisha community, it's for the entire community. So we're asking people from the neighborhoods, from the schools, from the churches, from the grocery stores, from every entity, the library, every entity to come and share space with us for IJ Festival, because we are the spirit of wealth.
Needs
and we
wealth.
need to wake it up.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Thank you, Ia.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. That sounds so beautiful.
Yes.
What about you,
I myself, I I'm headed back to Niger for the summer.
Ooh.
So I'm going back for training and just to indulge myself again in the culture. And so I'll be traveling, but I am going to make sure that family is there in support of the community. I have Oshun Sacred Healing House. I now have a live location in Riverdale off of Highway 85. And there you can get books, Arisha supplies, bells, incense, oils. I make a lot of healing products, butters, oils, baths, things like that. I also do yoni steaming. I'm also a yoni steam practitioner. Yoni breathing, which is a womb wellness technique. I have, African adire and attire. I also make African fabric printed jewelry. So everything you can find in the shop there. So there's that. And then I have retreats. Okay. So I'm so very proud of myself. I don't say this a lot, but this year I'll be hosting my 3rd annual Oshun Sacred Healing House retreat in St. Croix Virgin Islands. Oh, nice. It is the theme is healing the divinity within. And so it is where women come together to get in touch with ancestral healing. So we all, heal on earth. We're all always on some kind of healing journeys. But we don't include our ancestors. And so it's really to connect us with our ancestors and find out where these traumas keep recycling. Where do they keep being reborn? And, where we are and how we actually can break the cycles, right? So some people know that we're healing from these things, but what are we doing to make sure that they don't continue to reoccur for our daughters and, for generations to come? So that's what that retreat is all about. I'm thankful to you, Omi, because when I started, I had no idea that the Olokun Festival, Ajay Festival, was there. And I think I met on the tail end of it. But Oshun gave me that location. And then Olokun said, you got to be coming. You got to be doing this here. Because I intended to move it around, like go to Jamaica and, like these different places. And so Olokun was like, no, you need to be doing this here every year. So I'm grateful for that. It's growing. And then I just had my very first Sunshine Glow Up Retreat this past March. It is here in the States, and that one will be moved around from, like different beaches in the United States. And so it is to help women get their glow back. We are moms, we're teachers, we're wives, and we forget about ourselves often. So in the springtime, when you need a refresher, when you just need to relax and remember who you are, within yourself, come get the sun and, pay homage to the water and just refresh and rejuvenate, revive yourself. So that's what I have going on.
Yes, echo share to both of you and all that you are doing in the community. You can find links to our sisters' IG pages and to their websites. We'll have links there so that you can get in touch with them if you need to. Support any of the women that you see on the podcast who are all doing amazing things. We hope that this conversation on character, this podcast is created to stimulate conversation, right? We won't maybe always get to like a specific end point, right? But we do hope that you will continue to engage in conversation with one another about these topics, right? And this topic of Iwa, this topic of Iwa Pele, this topic of character is one that's of paramount importance to our community and to our traditions. So continuing the conversation on character and the understanding of character for yourself is very, very important. So thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to end in prayer. Would any of you like to pray over the character of the community? Let's for a second. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
I like to give thanks to all the divine entities that are here in this space, the Oris that have collectively been put together so that we as women can find peace, can find love, can find hope, can find truth and understanding and inner joy when and if possible. We give thanks to the divine forces that gather us in unison for the elements of nature to come together under the one umbrella, for the space that we share our intelligence, our abundance, our truth. We give thanks for honesty, for our voices, for the elevation of our minds, bodies, and spirits connected to our ancestors, connected to our Orisha, connected to our past, our present, and our future. May all of us leave this space with a full heart, with a full belly, and with laughter and joy as our ability to continue to do the work that we're doing and to heal us with all of our essence, with all the good things that we have. May we always continue to find the balance between who we are, what we are, and what we're becoming.
Ashe.
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 Ashe. Wow.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please like, comment, and share. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Music. And you can find us right here on YouTube every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. If you are in the app, then feel free to jump on at 8 o'clock and we will have our TalkBack session each week this season. We appreciate you for being here. Have a lovely evening. Adabo.